You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
All right, we'll call the Board of Selectmen's meeting for October 15, 2025 to order. Item 1, to consider and if appropriate, approve the minutes from October 1st, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So move seconded. Any errors, corrections, omissions? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Item carries. Get a motion to add 2 items to the agenda. To consider and if appropriate, approve the resolution for a steep grant as item 3A, and to correct the term expiration dates for 3 members of the Conservation and Environmental Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Move second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, item passes. Item 2, to consider and if appropriate, approve a request from John Hefferly, town engineer, to reject the apparent low bid from Gerber Construction, Inc., recognize the apparent second low bid from CJ Fucci, Inc. as the third low bid, and recognize the third low bid from Kelowna Concrete and Paving LLC as the second low bid, and award the contract for the Main Street Reconstruction and Rehabilitation Project to Kelowna Concrete and Paving LLC in the correct amount of $11,352,910. John?
Yep, thank you. There's a lot to that one.
Yeah.
So we're back for Main Street. If you recall, we did go out to bid back, I believe it was in April, and we recommended that this board reject all bids at that point. We go back to rebid. That was on the kind of some advice from the town council to go back out to bid. So we did receive the rebid. We had 6 bids submitted for the rebid. The apparent low was Gerber Construction. However, as you saw on the bid tab, they did not provide addendum 1 or 2, the acknowledgement that they had those addenda, as well as they didn't submit their second copy of the bid as required, and there were some scrivener's errors within their bid. It should be noted that the low 3, we look at the lowest 3 to compare. Mostly look at unit pricing and see, is everyone in the proper range, right? Nobody's like heavy weighting some item that could throw off the project through change orders or things like that, something that we didn't see. So in doing that and having our consultant look through that, once they looked at 2 and 3, we realized there were errors within all 3 of the low bids as far as how they added up. So that's kind of within that spreadsheet that was provided, the bid comparison. So at the very end there, you could see Gerber was off by, their bid was off by $2,000. CJ Fucci was the apparent second, was off by $500, and Kelowna Concrete was off by $53,000. And that's based on how the bid was written, that if there's any discrepancy within the bids, we take the written unit price for each item. And when you add all of that up, total all that up, that's where we end up kind of getting that flip-flop between 2 and 3, right? And that was really brought to our attention by our consultant when they were reviewing the bids. So all in all, that's the 4, within my letter, the 4 requests is the apparent low bid from Gerber be rejected as incomplete for those reasons stated. They didn't submit the total bid. The apparent second low bid is actually corrected as the third low bid once you add up all the unit pricing. And the apparent third low bid would be named the second low bid. And then since the first one was thrown out, then the second would be recommended to be awarded to the second low bid. And we did check all of their references. They did have good references throughout those checks. So I don't know if there's any questions.
So John, how is these inconsistencies any different from the first round?
So the first round is when we rejected all those bids. we had a large discrepancy between the lowest and the second lowest. I believe it was somewhere like 1.6 million or something like that. We rejected all those for when we were going to reject the lowest because of the addenda that weren't submitted with the bid. And then with that 1.6, that was such a large jump between the two, as opposed to this one where, we're looking 10.6 million to 11.4 million. So we really closed that gap. All these bids actually came in around the same, which is what we were hoping for, right? Is that they're actually bidding against each other. But what makes this different? I would say that within the error, even correcting the errors, the total bids are very close. And we went through that whole process with checking the references. We got to that point where we could check references to make a recommendation, and then ran that through the town attorney, and he agreed that, yep, that all makes sense, so.
Unfortunately, I didn't get all the correspondence. Something happened to my town's account. So in the past, when we've had minor inconsistencies, a paper being missing and they turned it in, we've waived that, informality, but we're not doing it this time for the low bidder. I'm just curious on that.
Yeah, with the low bid, it's pretty similar to the last bid, and where the town attorney, we did receive a bid protest from one of the bidders on, you shouldn't be giving the contract to somebody who didn't submit the addenda acknowledgements, right? So that's similar in that respect, that we got the protests, the addenda weren't submitted with the bid, and so the recommendation from town council at that point was, yeah, let's reject that bid, right? What's different this time around, again, is the gap between, the 1.6 million between low and second, and some of these numbers actually came down with this rebid, so.
I just, it's hard sometimes when we've done so many of these, inconsistencies and just passed them by allowing it, and then for some reason this project here, that's not happening, so that gives me some concern.
Yeah, I think it depends on what we're talking about. Like if you get they submitted one paper copy, you're supposed to have two. We would come to you guys and let's waive that, right? Because it's not really
it's been two
major item.
And both times we've had problems.
Yeah,
I think what we have to take into consideration with this specific project, and where the reason why actually the two both times were essentially rejected based on not having the addenda. Or acknowledging them and receiving them, plus there were some others, but those were so as far as this project, it's been consistent. I hear what you're saying about some other bids maybe in the past, but also keep in mind the funding source of this. We wanted to be very sensitive that this is being, the 100% of the construction of eligible cost is being covered through a state program. So I think we were in terms of that process, in terms of going through our COG and through DOT, we wanted to ensure that we adhered to a process that, any of these inconsistencies were addressed. And as the engineer just mentioned, the last time we had a bid protest, it was a decision, and we had a very similar situation with this. Then we had a bid protest, again, for that same reason.
And the state's on board with this?
So the state waits for the town to go through this process. The next step with this is the town coming from the Selectmen's office would recommend the SCROG, Council of Governments, to recommend this process, or really the award, to the DOT, and then the DOT is going to go through their review process.
So the DOT can still go through this, and if they see there's an issue, they can just say no, and we'd have to start.
They could. I haven't had any indication. I mean, we do have to coordinate with them when we're going to do anything like this for this program. So, all this information was disseminated to the DOT, and I haven't heard anything otherwise, other than, provide everything, once it goes through the SCROG and it gets to DOT, they review at that point, so.
Yeah, because the last time I believe we did reach out to the state, and there wasn't a true assurance at that point in time.
They were pretty non-committal at that point, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Does this 11,300,000 plus, does that include a contingency?
And so we brought, between the Board of Finance and the RTM, we had asked for an appropriation, received an appropriation for $15 million. for the project. So what happens is the 11 million through the state allows a 10% contingency and a 10% incidental. So that gets added to the 11,353 roughly for the state's share. And then we include our own contingency on the town side because there may be ineligible parts of the project that we want to make sure we incorporate into the product as a whole to complete the project. And if the state says we're not paying for garbage cans, for instance, we still need garbage cans. We're going to go out and buy them. So that's why we have that contingency set aside for on the local side, the local dollars. Yep.
Who makes those decisions in the future? So for these things that they may not pay for because we decide to add something, does that go through just your office or?
No, that goes, DOT reviews the project as a whole. So they've already reviewed the project, which is why we went out to bid. So I don't see that coming up, but we just want to make sure that we're ready in case something happens or change in administrations over there or whatever else, that we can, let's get this over the finish line, because, yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
I just also think it's important to note for the record that as the town engineer just mentioned, this did go before the Board of Finance and the RTM, this project for the appropriation, which was nearly, I think it was a $15 million appropriation. The local share is, I think, was like 1.1, estimated was to be around 1.15. Does that sound correct?
1.175, yep.
Yeah, 1.175. So we're leveraging significant dollars, over $13 million of state funding for this project. So.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Move second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, item passes. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Oh, I guess we anticipate to sign a contract once all approvals are, and then whether, depending on the weather, would initiate when they would start, right?
Yeah, I'm not certain how long the DOT process, the review process is going to go, because, we've got CHRO and set aside, things like that, so it may be lengthy, but the contractor has indicated, Kelowna has indicated that they would like to work during the winter shutdown period if the weather holds, so.
None of the other cutbacks that the state's losing from federal money is involved
No, this
in
is all through
it?
state bonding.
All state.
So, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.
Item 3, to receive a report from Jennifer Aquino, Assistant Town Engineer, for emergency work necessary to correct a significant safety issue at the transfer station. The work was completed by Finelli Electric September 4th, 2025, in the amount of $13,800. Jen, thank you.
Hi, good evening. So just here to submit the report that should have been included with your information in regards to emergency work that was completed at the transfer station. That was over the requirement for the bid threshold. You're probably wondering why I'm involved in it, but the GGB Director Brian Droney was on vacation when some work was happening out there to wire the diesel tank that was formerly at the Public Works facility on North Branford Road. It got moved to the transfer station, which was what I was working on. We had hired a electrician to wire the pump for that tank back into the building at the transfer station. Because Brian was away, he notified me that, he had come across an issue while he was doing that wiring that he felt rose to the level of needing to contact us to be addressed. He provided us a quote, was able to do the work, pretty quickly afterwards to address the issue, and it has now been completed, so that safety issue has been resolved. It really stemmed from some conduit that was coming through the floor on the north wall of the building. We had mentioned to him that one of the breakers was tripping for one of the outlets there and asked him if he could just take a look at it while he was there. That's why he came across that safety issue and recommended that be rewired. So the $13,800 was the total on there, and the work's been completed to date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Approve. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item 3A, to consider and if appropriate, approve the following resolution. Resolve that James B. Cosgrove be and hereby is authorized to accept on behalf of the town of Branford a 2025 Connecticut Steep Grant in the amount of $1 million for the town center sidewalk improvements project. And further resolved that First Selectman Cosgrove is hereby authorized to enter into and execute any and all agreements, contracts, and documents necessary to obtain said 2023 steep grant with the state of Connecticut. This is a, you want to go over overview? Okay.
The overview, and also, I think there should be a correction in there. This was the sample resolution provided by DOT, I'm sorry, OPM. It said, at the very end, it says 2023 steep grant, that should be 2025 steep
Okay.
grant.
All right.
Yep.
So with the correction, I said, all right.
So these sidewalks are perpendicular to Main Street, more or less, so everything north of Main Street, so Harrison Park, some parts of Cedar Street. This is a grant we received from, through the STEEP grant program, through OPM, leveraged with $200,000 local match. So the total project was estimated at $1.2 million. This would be to replace the sidewalks kind of towards the tail end of Main Street, so we don't tear everything up all at once, but kind of complete some of those sidewalks to really get the center of town addressed as a whole in the end. So these sidewalks that are part of this program would not be eligible for the same funding source as Main Street, and that's why we didn't do it all under that. So.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, move second. With the correction of 2025 steep grant, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, item carries. Thanks. Item 4, appointments. Conservation Environmental Commission. Joseph Mizdrahdri to fill a vacancy left by Cynthia Jasek, term to expire July 31st, 2027.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, item carries. George Asplin to fill a vacancy left by Adrian Bonenberger, term to expire July 31st, 2028.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Move second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item passes. Congratulations, George. Item 4A, to consider to approve the correction of the following term expiration dates. Conservation and Environmental Commission, Christy Day, Carol Lee Hall, and Neil Goodlad, terms to expire July 31st, 2028.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Move second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, item passes. No, we don't have any correspondence. Item 6, any other business?
Hello. I'd like to address the board.
You just have to state your name.
Paul Petrillo. I'm in charge of the fleet of vehicles at the Public Works Department, chiefly involved in snow removal and all other, aspects of our work. And our fleet is now housed outside, and I'm curious when the modifications to the temporary building that we have leased are going to take place so we can get our vehicles inside for the winter, as not to impede the snow removal process. Everybody's pretty tight-lipped about when these modifications are going to happen to this building. So I'm just...
No, nothing to be tight-lipped about. The modifications require a architectural and structural drawing and to be stamped so we can get the permit. We're in the process of doing that. I believe it's pretty much completed, the specs, and then we'll go out to procure the vendors to do the necessary improvements. So we anticipate to start that work shortly. We have, I think, a follow-up meeting with our architect and his team in the next week, and we'll proceed from there.
Okay, so when do you foresee the work being completed?
Well, we hope to move as quickly as possible. I don't have, until we have the final drawings and have that reviewed, I don't want to give it an exact date, but we're proceeding to get in there within the coming months.
Okay. All right. I appreciate your time.
Is there anything we're going to need to do in our short tenure together left to make sure this doesn't get held up during the transition?
No, I don't think so. I mean, certainly if we have to call for a meeting to waive the bid or for the purchase of equipment or select vendors, we'll do that. We are also just exploring, going through the CROG. They have the program that the town has utilized, other towns have utilized it to accomplish. It's like a job order contracting. It's pre-bid.
You did a PD before I left, yeah.
And we did some work
Yep.
with that. So that's what we anticipate to keep things moving in a manner. Try to get in there ahead of the winter.
Okay, motion to approve, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.